It's so funny because I always say that my childhood was like the Cosby Kids without the Bill Cosby of today. But it was like I was only child, had everything growing up, like spoiled as all get out. Too many presents to open on Christmas. My parents just were the most loving, most fabulous. Like I have no complaints about my childhood and growing up. I just thought my parents were absolutely awesome. I actually lost both of them. My mom when I was, my mom when I was 19, 20, yeah, 20, because right before I turned 21, and my dad when I was 29, right before I turned 30. So being an only child and all that kind of good stuff, I have a lot of, my friends are my family, that kind of thing, but I have a lot of family like values stuck in here. So I'm always talking about my dad. If you didn't know, you would probably think they're still alive because I'll be like, my daddy said, my mama said. So I'm always talking about them all the time. But I was in sports. I did everything, karate, tennis, basketball, and just very supported growing up. So.
Just for some descriptors, like when were you born?
October 25th, 1974, which means for the longest I had Halloween birthday parties. I was like, enough with the Halloween theme because it's right before Halloween. But yeah, so born then, I'm 44 years old. I'm the year of Obama. Went to Texas A&M University. Right now, currently own, my own business, own radio station and media platform. And just done a lot of community work over the years and work with people over the years. So anything having to do with people, I've probably been involved.
Yeah. How would you describe your neighborhood growing up, like your schools, who you hung out with?
Well, I grew up with the white folks, so it was so peaceful. I lived in Garden Ridge, Texas, growing up. Doors unlocked. Everybody knows your name. We were literally the first black family to move into the neighborhood, so everybody knew me. I actually had to ride on the hayride during the holidays because I think it was because I was a token black girl. I feel like that's why I was on the hayride. I'm the only black person here. But so yeah, growing up, that was that. But neighborhood, you didn't have to lock your doors. Everybody watched out for everybody. I rode bikes up and down the streets, went to the country club to go swimming. It was a good life. It was a good life. Come home, eat ribeye steaks out the freezer. Yeah, growing up was beautiful, beautiful.
All right. So you mentioned that you really love your parents. So would you say they were role models of yours?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And parents are definitely role models. If I think about role models, I think of my parents before I would think of like an Oprah or this or that because I know all their values all the way around. And so, yeah, if someone said, oh man, you're just like your mom or your dad, I'm like, yes, I'm excited because they were great people.
What values did they instill?
Giving back was one of the biggest ones. So my dad always talked about earthly angels. And he's like, you always will know an earthly angel. First, he would teach me how to identify an earthly angel when I was really little. And he's like, they just come out of nowhere and they just help you with whatever it is that you're needing help with. And you'll just be like, where'd they come from? It's like, that's an earthly angel. So that was when I was little. But as we grew up, he would always be, anytime someone did something, he'd be like, that's an earthly angel, that's an earthly angel. So he always would talk about that and try to teach me to be an earthly angel as well. So he was always about giving. Would give you your last $20. If he had it, it was all about what he could do for other people.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
How would others describe you?
Ooh, crazy. I think that's the first word that comes out. Nneka crazy, that girl wild. I would say that. The girl who says what you want to say but you're scared to say. I would say that they would say I was very fun-loving, and I think that they would say that I do way too much for other people and not enough for myself. I get it from my daddy. But yeah, I think that's what they would say. But crazy would be the first thing to come out their mouth.
Mm-hmm. Well, the reason we're here is to, discuss racism and any experiences. So have you had any, especially since you mentioned being the first black person in your neighborhood? So
funny enough, I felt like I probably did experience racism. Maybe being the only black person waving on the hay barrel might have been some, but I never felt it until I went to, in high school was the first time that I ever even notice that someone was being a different way. And I was on the basketball team, and like on game days, they put your name and good luck. Well, instead of Nneka, it had nigger. And so when I was walking to my locker, crazy enough, I was like, who spelled my name wrong? My name is not spelled like that. It is it. Then I got closer and I was like, oh, they put nigger. And I was like, wow, who did that? Never said anything to anybody, really. I just kind of took it off my locker and threw it away and just kept on about my business. But that was the first time that, like, I realized, I was like, oh, maybe somebody doesn't like me because of my color.
So why didn't you feel the need to do anything about it, to tell someone?
I think because being in high school and being I think in high school I was one of 3 or 4 black folks that went to the school. It probably was to just continue to fit in, not fit in a way that I want to be most popular or whatever, because I was popular because I was the only one of 3 black people, so everybody knew me. And I played tennis and I was nationally ranked, so everybody knew who I was. But I think it was because I was always the fun-loving person that tried to be positive all the time. So that was a negative type thing. And so I just ignored it. But I still remember it.
Did anything happen afterwards? Did anybody else see it or react?
I think I showed somebody. If I can remember correctly, I want to say I showed somebody and they were like, wow. And that was it. But I didn't really know who to tell. I probably could have found out because they were the ones that actually did, somebody colored everybody's name, so I probably could have found out. But I think I was just dumb to the fact because I never really experienced it. Like, again, I was never left out of everything. We had a really good life, so I never really experienced it. I didn't realize it. Now, I'll tell you, that happened. I went to the movies one time. My school was in New Braunfels, so New Braunfels is really small. It's a German town. So I went to the movies one time, and back in the day, you have your ticket stub, keep your ticket stub, and you can walk out the movie theater and come back in, but you had to have your ticket stub. Well, they told me I didn't need one because I was the only black girl in New Braunfels anyway, so they knew I was there. Again, I think I always laughed stuff off to where it was just because I was the crazy fun one anyway. So I think I just always turned it into like a joke, aha, they're being funny. And back then, I don't think that, like I didn't go home and cry or anything, but I can say that I still remember those things. And one other time when somebody at McDonald's said, that black girl can wait. Those are the 3 times that someone said something in my vicinity and I was just like, I think I should be mad, but I just blew it off, just kind of blew it off.
Has that story had any impact on your life at all?
I think that, I don't want to say it doesn't because I still remember it, or remember all 3 of those incidents. I think that if anything, it's made me be more loving to everybody. I'm the person that wants everybody to have a friend. Like if someone's sitting by themselves, I'm gonna go talk to them, and then I'm gonna introduce them to somebody, and then I'm like, I don't want anybody to feel like they're not loved. So that might be it's a little bit of my daddy in that, but that might be something from that too, because I hate when I feel like people are being left out for any reason whatsoever.
Well, what made you come and tell your story here today?
Mainly because I think that it's important when we talk about discrimination and stuff like that. I think that we get discriminated so much that we start ignoring stuff. And then we think, oh, that doesn't happen anymore. But if I sit down and think about it, I can think of 3 times when that's happened. And I think it's more than just with color. I think it's with females. I think it's with economical status. I think it's with a lot of things. And we just take it. And we don't make people be accountable for what they say. We don't make people say sorry sometimes. Like, no, you can't, you're not going to speak to me that way. And so at some point, we've got to stop that cycle. So I felt like this was a good way to stop that cycle of just saying, I'm going to allow you to do whatever you feel like you can do, So to be able to talk about it and say, get it out, maybe that's a way for me to internally and outside stop the cycle of anybody disrespecting me in a way that I feel disrespected.
Well, did any 3 of those events affect how you viewed others or interacted with others?
Ooh, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say again, I think my interaction became more loving, but I also think that just like people labeled me, I started labeling folks. So whatever the skinny white guy with the jacket, with the whatever, that look of that guy, if I see anybody that looks like him, they're probably racist. I mean, just because that's the image in my head. So I've gotta scale that down. So I'll look, that might be the first thought, and then I'm like, now Nneka, you know better than that. Let's go meet them. I love to introduce myself to strangers. So, hey, how you doing? If they, hey, how you doing back, it doesn't trigger anything. But if they look at me crazy, then, you know. But I think that if it affected me on an unconscious level. Not something that I'm outwardly hateful to anybody for.
Okay. Well, if something like that happened today, how would you react? Would it be the same, laugh it off? Or?
No, I'd probably say something. I'd ask them. I want to discuss it. Why do, if it was the guy at McDonald's, why do you think a black woman or a black person needs to wait for you? You know, just to see what they would say. If it was the school, I would actually go and say, who wrote this? Like, who's behind this? Just so I know, and again, put an end to it. I would be more vocal now, and at least let you know that wasn't appropriate.
How do you feel your generation views racial issues compared to other generations?
I think our generation's angry. I think that African Americans sometimes are more prejudiced than any other culture, because we've been hurt so much. So everything's somebody else's fault. It's the white man's fault, it's his fault, it's their fault, it's whatever. And then we end up, because of our anger, we turn around and say what white people are doing, what Hispanic people, whatever the case may be. So we're doing nothing but flipping it back and being just as bad as the people who are being towards us. When I went to school, coming from an all-white neighborhood, an all-white school, being the only black person, when I went to Texas A&M, that still had a small amount of blacks compared to, you know, but it was more than I had seen. I felt I had never heard so many discriminatory comments in my life. White folks always do this. Would always do this. White people weren't talking like that, not in front of me at least. So it was very interesting to me to see a flip, but I do feel like that flip was because of anger. People are so mad to be treated a certain way or be put in a category that we're doing the same thing without realizing it to other races.
How do you think society should go about pursuing justice when it comes to racism?
Accountability. If somebody, at the end of the day, you can't stop racism. I don't think you can stop you can't stop a discrimination because it's personal experiences all day long. The gentleman from Taken that just had made the comment that I want to, yes, that I want to kill every black person because someone I loved got raped by a black person, to me is a very common statement, because when my ex-boyfriend slept with a white woman, I wanted to slap every white woman at the same, so what made him different, me different than him in that scenario? So I think those are all emotional things that because we're hurt when we say stuff like that. But I don't think that we can fix it. I just think that we have to learn how to, we have to hold people accountable for things. So if you do something that is hurtful or say something that's hurtful, you're gonna be held accountable for that. Whether it's going to jail, whether it's getting kicked out of this room, whether it's leaving this restaurant, you know what I'm saying? But we're not gonna let you just be allowed to speak this way and continue to do it. So I just think nowadays we have to stop it before it festers any further.
Are you hopeful about the direction things are going, and if so, like how?
I think so. I think people are a little bit more vocal about things, and I think the reason why is because this past year it got a little bit beyond stupid. In other words, black people were getting the police called on them for barbecuing at a barbecue grill, playing basketball on a basketball court, going to sleep in a dorm room. So when you get cops and discriminatory things happening just while you're existing, it's hard to deny that it's happening. So I feel like right now we're in a climate where people are so like, I'm not going to be silent. And I think that's a good thing. The first thing we have to do is communicate and talk and let people know that hurt. You can't do that. I have the right, just like you have the right at the end of the day, and not allow them to do it anymore.
What is your faith background?
I believe in the Lord. I call myself a Christian. I'm not going to say it's loosely a Christian or anything, but I say I'm a Christian because I go to church and I get filled up, refilled through Christianity, through that process. So that's why I say that. But I just believe in God. I believe in a higher power. I know that everybody gets their spiritual juice from somewhere, and it's not all going to be Christianity. It's not all going to be a certain thing. So as long as you believe in something higher than yourself, we cool.
How would you relate your faith to your experiences? Maybe it could be, was your dad a Christian? Did he instill like Christian values into you?
My dad, and I will say he's a Christian because we went to church, right? But again, it wasn't about Christianity. That's why I use the term loosely. It's about love. It's about giving back. It's about earthly angels. It's about what can you do for the next person to build up the kingdom and make it better. So that's why I try to shy away from the title of that. But that's forever. He instilled that in me. So I'm forever trying to be an earthly angel and forever trying to help whoever's around me to be better and identify angels so I can connect them with their next mission.
How does your religious tradition address issues of race?
They didn't. Not mine in my house. They didn't at all. Again, it's love. God is love. It never says anything about color when it comes down to that. So I never thought about. The only thing I thought about, if you want to know the absolute truth, is the fact that the black church goes way longer and the white church is 59 minutes. On the dot. I'm like, we're leaving already. There's not one last word. That's going to take 20 more minutes. That's it. Between the difference of choirs and, how stuff is whatever, but other than that, no, I never thought about color when it came to God.
In what part do you believe that faith in the church addresses racism?
I don't think it does at all. Mm-hmm. I don't think the church addresses a lot of things that it's supposed to address. I think we've gone through a long time of wait on God. And when the Bible doesn't even say wait on me. The Bible says pick up your mattress and walk. So I feel like the church has, I'm not going to say doing a bad job, but I feel like they relayed the wrong message through all these years. Pray on it. Pray on it is one thing. That's one step. But you got to get up. Everything in the Bible requires action. Everything that you need to do for success requires action. So I feel like the church is always telling us to sit back and to do this and to do that. And that's the opposite. So I feel like it's hurt us. I don't feel like it's talked about discrimination. I don't even think it's been honest. We read a book that says that Jesus has skin of this color and hair of this course and this, and the picture looks completely different. So at the end of the day, what we doing? So I feel like the church could and should be a lot more proactive in what they're telling the congregations to do, because at the end of the day, the church is the community. The people that go to the church don't not live in the neighborhood. They don't not go to the schools. Your church is your community. It is the people. So if the people aren't doing anything, you can't blame the church, can't blame the pastor. You have to blame the people that sit in those seats, that go back to their homes, that go back to those streets, that go back to those schools, and are not putting back out a positive message, putting back out love, putting back out uplifting. That's the problem. It ain't the church and the walls. The walls don't do nothing. The pews don't do nothing. They're just there. The pastor's one man. So on Sunday, there's 182 people there, or 2,000 people there, or 45 people there. But we want to look at what one man and four walls does compared to the thousands of people that sit inside of it and then go back into the community 3 hours later. That's the church. So at the end of the day, you want to change the church, you got to change the people.
Okay. With that mindset, you seem to now be talking about like taking accountability and everything. If you could go back to that time in high school, would you have done stuff differently?
Not too much differently. I just would have said something. In those particular incidents, I just would have said, but I wouldn't do too much differently. No.
Do you feel that, to go back to that incident, do you feel that your peers would have been on your side and been
I do.
willing to help?
I do. I think they did because relationships. Everything's, to me, a lot of things are about relationships and love. Because when you have relationships with folks, you build trust. You build different things. You want to be there for each other. And I had good relationships with people. So I truly believe that folks would have been just as pissed if I was pissed. But because I didn't make anybody be different. I didn't force accountability on anybody.
So would you see racists as more of a minority, just a very vocal minority?
To me, no. A racist person is somebody who keeps somebody down because of their color or their situation. So to me, we all discriminate, right? If you make a funny statement, all black people like chicken. That's discrimination. That's a generalization of things. If I say I'm not finna hire this girl, I'm not even gonna bring this girl in because her name is Toya, and that sounds like a black woman. That's something that is keeping someone down because of what their color or something is. So I think there's completely two different things to it, and that is absolutely unacceptable. So in any position, from the highest up to the lowest of whatever, you cannot keep somebody from doing those things. But here's the kicker. Nobody can keep anybody. Nobody can stop anybody, period, if God has it for you. At the end of the day, the only death to goals is suicide, not murder. So just because someone's discriminating on you doesn't mean that you can't figure out another way to make things happen. So at the end of the day, it goes back to, okay, this happened to me, but how did it affect me? And is it gonna stop my world, or am I gonna keep on pushing? So when I think about all the things that happened to me, sometimes I'm happy that I was blinded and ignorant to it, because I never stopped what I was doing. I never stopped my relationships. I never stopped being Nneka. I never stopped being nice to probably the same people that called me nigger. But I still came to school and smiled in their face. And at the end of the day, I think that made me more successful than anything else. Because if I do something and I make it to where, oh my God, it's hurt my feelings, and now I've stopped my progress, who is it really hurting? It's not hurting them, it's hurting me at the end of the day. So again, I'm gonna make people be accountable, but at the same time, I'm not gonna stop doing whatever it is to do, because if God has it for me, I'm gonna get it.